Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. You know, one question I ask every guest on Everyday Martial Artist is about their favorite martial arts book. And there's never been one quite like Martial Theory by Steve Perlman, described as the art of war for the martial arts. Martial Theory helps any martial artist or instructor take their understanding and teaching to the next level. And at martialtheoryU.com, you'll find a global community with instructor groups, Q&A with Steve, live events, and demonstrations to help you apply martial theory directly to your training. It's not just a book, it's a movement. Find Martial Theory on Amazon, and when you join martialtheoryU.com, use discount code EverydayMA for 20% off. That's under $20 a month for life. That's martialtheoryU.com, code EverydayMA. Hello and welcome to Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as we do every week, we're joined by a brand new guest talking about their life and their journey throughout the world of martial arts. My guest today is a lifelong martial artist whose journey reflects the full spectrum of what training really looks like, the challenges, the growth, and the long-term commitment. He began training more than 35 years ago, navigating early setbacks, demanding black belt tests, and years of competition that helped shape both his skill and perspective. Over time, he became a leader on and off the mat, running competition teams, leading sparring classes, and serving as a primary instructor for adult and teen programs. His background spans multiple disciplines, including World Taekwondo, ITF Taekwondo, Hapkido, and Bill Superfoot Wallace's system, training directly under and alongside some of the most respected names in the martial arts world. That exposure to high-level instruction, cross-training, and large-scale tournaments helped form a well-rounded, experience-driven approach to martial arts. Today, he continues to train and teach daily, sharing his knowledge with students ranging from lifelong practitioners to those discovering martial arts later in life, proving that training is not about age, but mindset. A multiple-time Martial Arts Hall of Fame inductee, his story is one of persistence, adaptability, and staying connected to the art for life. Please welcome my guest today, Jim Ockington. How you doing today, Jim?
I'm doing great. Wow, that was awesome.
Thank you.
I might have to put that on my voicemail when.
Hey, you'll be among a few that have, I know, so that'll be good. Well, first of all, thank you for doing this. Second of all, thank you for being a listener. I know as we were just chatting, Jim's listened to every episode of the show, which I truly appreciate, and was actually recommending other guests, and I'm like, well, what about you? So I'm glad I convinced you to do this, and I'm looking forward to having this chat with you.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Well, you know what we do. You've heard enough episodes, so let's go back to the beginning. I got to know how it started. You know, that first interest. You know, was it as a kid? Was there a movie, a TV show? Was it something your parents made you do? You know, how did that journey begin in martial arts? Where did that first spark come from?
So for me, it started when I was young. I was born in 1962, so it was probably around when I was 6 or 7 years old, late 1960s and early 1970s.
Okay.
It had anything to do with fighting on TV. I watched it. Nice. So I was just, and some of the crazy stuff, so there's the old Green Hornets that, in the Kung Fu series, but shows like Wild Wild West, I used to watch that for the fight scenes. Batman, even though it was cheesy and corny with the pow and bam.
It was awesome.
Yeah, but, even some, for some of the older listeners, Ultraman, Johnny Sacco's Flying Robot, I used to watch those because they had fight scenes in them. Kung Fu theater. So that's what really got me into it. But my parents got divorced when I was 6. So wasn't a lot of money. So never thought about taking martial arts when I was a kid. I didn't even know if there was any schools around my area. It just really wasn't something that any of my friends did.
Okay.
Also, I was a big athlete. I was always into the standard sports, football, basketball, wrestling, track, and baseball. I never really thought that my journey started as early until you were talking about wrestling being a combat sport.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was 13, I started wrestling in junior high, and I was strong for my age at that time, and so for me in wrestling, I I always tried to outmuscle my opponents.
Okay.
I didn't realize until I was older and taking martial arts that it was really more about technique, leverage, and balance. I wish I would have known that.
I don't think most wrestlers don't at that age. I don't think.
Yeah. So I was just average, but growing up in the Cleveland area in Northeast Ohio, it's a hotbed for wrestling. So there were a lot of good wrestlers, and a lot of my teammates were really good wrestlers. But for me, it was like for keeping in shape for the other sports.
Okay.
My thoughts of when I first started was in college.
Okay.
I always took a phys ed class just to break things up, and they offered karate.
Oh.
So I said, hey, I'll give that a shot. Let's try that. So it was Ishinryu, and I liked it. It was fun. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the semester, the teacher had said that there's a karate club, and anybody wanted to join it. So, here's the dates and times, and feel free to stop by. So I said, yeah, I want to check it out. So I kind of had an experience kind of like you. Mm-hmm. So I go in there, and it wasn't what I expected. I hated it. If you didn't line up right, the instructors would come over. Every time I watched The Perfect Weapon, I'm like you, I watch that at least once a year.
Nice.
At the beginning when he's a student and they punch each other in the stomach down the line.
Yep.
That's what they did. If you didn't line up right or you did something wrong, but it was the instructors that would hit you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. And so I always had a bad taste in my mouth about the martial arts until years later. I was out with a buddy of mine who was a black belt in Taekwondo. And I was telling him the story about it. And he said, hey, Jim, that was just a bad school. He goes, if you're really interested in it, he gave me great advice. What he said was just go around to the different schools and talk to the instructor or the owner, talk to the instructors, watch the classes, and find one that resonates with you. So I thought, okay, that's a good idea. So the first place I called was really close to where I worked. And I thought, well, this would be perfect. And it was Taekwondo. I really wanted to do Taekwondo, but he told me not to worry about the style. Mm-hmm. Find a good school. And every time I stopped by at lunchtime, it was never open because, the classes didn't start till like 4.
Yeah.
So I was at work one day and I called him about 3:30 in the afternoon and said, hey, I'm really interested and I'd like to come by and talk with you and watch your classes and see what your school's all about. And he told me, he goes, that's not how it works. He goes, I interview you to see if I want you as a student.
Wow.
and I'm like, okay, this isn't starting out really well.
Wow.
So then he tells me, he goes, okay, so here's your interview date. Here's the time. If you're late, don't show up. If you don't show up, don't call back. And I told him, I said, well, sir, I can't make that time. I'm working. He set it up for like 3:30 in the afternoon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And he said, well, he goes, and if you don't show up, then, don't call back. And so I told him, I said, cancel that. I already have a father. I don't need this. Thank you. And he said, fine, hung up on me. And then I found out later that he had kind of a reputation, but he had a successful school. So, it worked for him. So, okay. So I just moved on. I probably went and talked to like 15 schools.
Do you remember some of the other styles you checked out, or did you only?
Oh, yeah. There was an Ishinryu, a couple Kempo schools. Jiu-Jitsu really wasn't around at that time. This was like 1990.
Okay.
So it really hadn't taken off. Shotokan.
Okay.
And I think there was an Aikido one too.
Okay. Nice variety. Good.
Yeah. So I walked into this one school that was probably about 30 minutes away from where I lived. And right away, I got a good vibe when I walked in. And I ended up sitting there and talking with him for about an hour. And we really hit it off. And so I asked him, he said, can I watch your classes and stuff? And he said, oh, yeah, sure. So I watched a couple classes. And then I said, yep, this is a school for me. And I signed up. And there were some of the other ones I liked too. Mm-hmm. And I told myself I wasn't going to make a rash decision, but I did. And I've been with him ever since. I moved down to Florida here, but I still train up north. There's an instructor there and a student that's a computer geek like me. So he sets up Zoom meetings for me so that I can call in every once in a while and train.
Nice.
Yeah, when I go to Cleveland, I'll stop by the dojang and train with them. So,
okay.
So yeah, that's kind of how it got started, and I've never looked back.
So do you remember your first class, just what that experience was like, some of the stuff you learned in your first class?
Yeah, so it was, it was a World Taekwondo. Mm-hmm. We didn't do the sport sparring. We did point.
Okay.
Yeah, because, as we started doing doing tournaments and stuff, all the tournaments were more open tournaments. So it was always like the point. But we did Palway forms.
Okay.
And the first form you learned is a white belt we call the blocking series.
Okay.
So you just go in a horse stance and you do the different block. There was like 4 different blocking series with a couple punches in them.
Okay.
And so it was really just learning about the blocks and everything. But I was just fascinated to, just to learn how to do a down block. It was just like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
Even though it's so basic.
As a fan of Perfect Weapon, that's kind of what you just described as when he's in his bedroom practicing the different blocks.
Yeah, exactly. That reminds me exactly of what our blocking series was.
Nice. Very cool.
And then, after you got your yellow belt, then we did, like I said, we did the Palgway form. So we do like Iljang was the next one, and then Ijang, Samjang.
Yeah, our very first pattern we do for white belt is called Kibonyang. From what I understand from my instructor, is like pretty basic one. It's a standard, I pattern where you just turn low block, punch, turn the opposite direction, low block, punch, turn towards the front, 3 punches, and you essentially do the same thing the opposite way, come back and finish.
Yeah.
So it's a basic one with just low blocks and punches, and that's it. And that's that's our first one for white belt. And then we switched to the paw gaze after that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I found other styles that use almost the identical, because it's very close to a pattern. I think I learned in Shotokan or Tung Sudo. I don't remember which one now, way back then, but I've seen other styles that use that's what I've had explained to me. It's essentially, it's a basic pattern that a lot of martial arts, different styles use as their first pattern. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it was interesting. We started with the Palgway forms, and then the Kukiwan switched to the Taeguk forms. Now, we weren't Kukiwan certified. Most of the schools in the Cleveland area, even Ohio, most of them really didn't do Kukiwan certification because of the politics and the costs and everything. They've kind of changed that recently. But so because the Kukiwan switched, we switched, and we hated them.
Yep.
So then he switched to Peon forms because the competitions, it was more like some of the forms the other schools did.
Mm-hmm.
And then we didn't like those either, so he went back to Palgway.
Nice, yeah.
And I like the Palgway. I like them all of them.
I don't know if we ever actually officially switched to the Taeguk. I know because we are Kukiwan school, but we've always stuck with the Palgay. And I remember we were at one short time we were starting to learn the Taeguk, and then he was like, "Well, only people who want to compete. If you want to learn them, I'll teach them." I don't remember ever actually learning them officially, so I've never had to test on one. I've definitely seen them, just because I've judged competition before, so I've seen them and everything, but not a fan either. To me, they just don't seem traditional. To me, they're more, like I said, with the non-traditional. They don't have the wide stances. They don't. So that's probably why I don't like them. Right.
Yeah, and the Kukiwans kind of changed even the black belt forms with the stances and that too.
Yeah.
They actually have a site out there that I don't know if you know about it. If you don't, I'll send you the link.
Okay.
It has detailed explanation of every single form.
Really?
Yeah. And they walk you through it multiple times.
Interesting.
It's really, really good. Yeah. But they changed the stances to be more walking for the kids because they said, I think the kids were struggling with the deep front stances and stuff. So they kind of shortened all the stances and everything. A lot of them are just walking stances now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Send me that link. I'd like to check that out.
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so you mentioned competition. Do you remember what belt you got involved in competition at?
It was probably yellow belt. We did in-school tournaments. So we did a lot of those. Funny story with that. I think it was, what was that? Probably a green belt or a blue belt. Yeah, and we had an in-school tournament on a Sunday during football season. So I used to meet all my buddies up at a place and watch the games. And I told them I'd be a little late because of the tournament. So I come there and talking to them, and they're like, "Oh, so how'd you do?" I said, "I got first place." And they said, "Oh, how'd it go?" I beat a couple folks, and then in the finals, I did this and did this, and then she did this. And they looked at me and they go, "She? You fought a girl?" So all they did, they just gave me a hard time all day. "Oh yeah, Jim just beat up a girl."
Awesome.
And I told them, I said, "Hey guys, this girl kick your ass, I'm telling you."
That's funny.
So that was a funny a memory of the sparring.
Okay. And I'm assuming then with your background in other sports that you really took to the competition and really enjoyed it.
I did, yes. I hate to lose. So, as I was going up in rank, it got tougher and tougher with the competition because most of those folks have been competing more and more. And I remember my first competition as a black belt, I got smoked in everything, sparring, breaking, forms. I did self-defense routines and, I realized, whoa, these guys, there's no difference in the ranks, right? So there's like 4th and 5th degrees, and I had just got my black belt, so I said, yeah, I'm not losing. So I really trained hard for the competitions to try and get better.
That's good. And did you ever compete in weapons?
I did.
What was your go-to weapon?
So I switched here and there. Okay. The weapons I liked to work with were more practical weapons.
Okay.
Like the sticks or the bow, the cane with Hapkido.
Nice. Trying
to find a stick with a chain connected to another stick wasn't practical to me, even though they're fun. But my one favorite was I was doing gumdo for a while, which is the Korean sword. And I was an orange belt at the time, and I wanted to compete in a tournament with it, but I had to compete as a black belt. So I combined the yellow belt form with the orange belt form to make it longer.
Okay.
And I remember there was like 16 of us, and I got 4th.
Wow.
And my instructor was laughing. He goes, "You beat all these folks with yellow belt form?" So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So to back up a little bit now, you said when you went and sat down, you talked to that instructor, you watched the classes. What are some things that stood out that made you say this was for you? What are some of the things that the instructor said, or what are some of the things you saw that really thought it was a good fit?
So what I saw, he had more black belts in his classes than I saw at the other schools.
Nice.
So to me, and some advanced black belts.
Okay. So
what I saw there was folks that there was loyalty there. So they must have liked something about that school that kept them there, right? Because a lot of times, and you've probably seen it, people's goal is to get the black belt and then they're gone.
Yeah.
Right. And they don't think about getting their 2nd, 3rd, or, making a lifestyle type of a thing. Yeah, just it was just something about his personality that it just clicked for me.
Okay.
That it was really, really down to earth, very courteous, polite. I didn't see the arrogance in him that I saw in some of the other owners of the schools. He was very open on everything. When I asked any questions, there was nothing like, "Oh no, you can't watch my classes." It's secret.
Yeah.
There were some schools that said that, and my buddy told me, he says, "Hey, if they tell you can't watch their classes, run."
Yep.
Yeah.
I've only had one ever tell me that, and that was a ninja school when I lived in California.
Oh.
He pushed into the whole ninja mythology thing. He's like, secret deadly techniques, and you have to sign a waiver before we'll even let you watch a class. I'm like, okay, have a nice day.
Yeah, and one of the funny things early on in my training was my instructor knew I was a big athlete, and he started making fun of me. He goes, "Is it being the athlete that you are?" He goes, "I thought you'd be more coordinated than you are." And I'm like, "What?" Yeah, he goes, "You just seem uncoordinated." And I didn't realize it till like years later when I was doing some teaching and stuff and had some left-handed students. That what I was struggling with is I was fully left-handed. Back when I was a kid, that the teachers used to try and switch me to be right-handed. They cracked me on the knuckles.
Yep.
And this was even public schools. So it made me want to be left-handed that much more. So I never did anything with my right hand or my right foot. And when you're doing training in the classes and everything, almost everything's out of a right back stance, fighting stance. And then they'll switch and they'll do a couple on the left side. And then what they'll tell you is, "Hey, make sure you train your left side," because we mostly train on the right side, but you need to make sure your left side is strong too. And then that's when I started realizing, because when I was on the left side, I was having no problem. Everybody else was, falling off balance, or, their kicks didn't look as good. And so that's when I realized, my right side is really weak. So a good thing about the martial arts is it made my right side just as good as my left side now.
That's good. And that's one thing my instructor switched probably in the last, I guess, maybe 15 years or so, maybe 20 years, where he, at least for the first couple belts, most of the technique now, even though when I learned it, it was just mostly right-sided, he switched it to do both. So if you do, the first like right block punch, then he'll do left block punch, and he'll basically double the technique. So you're doing it in both hands. And I remember, taking a little break and coming back and seeing him do that. I'm like, oh, that's really smart. Why haven't we done that sooner? So
right, yeah.
Because I know we had one set of techniques that I want to say we learned at red belt. It was called advanced kicking right before black belt, and that was the only techniques we had at the time that were right. Everything was right and left. So it wasn't until you were up that high, almost getting ready for your black belt test. So and it's good when they they do it a little earlier. So.
Yeah.
So think back to some of your color belt tests. Out of all the color belt tests you had before you got to black, which one do you think for you personally was the most challenging?
It was my yellow belt.
Okay.
I always tell people that my two hardest tests were my yellow belt because I didn't know what to expect, right? And then my black belt test was just brutal.
Yeah.
So as I was advancing, I would always go to the black belt tests, even if I wasn't testing, to watch them just to get a perspective of what was coming. And it was over 4.5 hours.
Yep.
And I saw what he do is, he worked on your weaknesses. He always knew what your weaknesses were.
Yep.
So, and he knew I had the forms down. So he tried to break me physically first. So the first thing he did, there was about 14 black belts at the test.
Wow.
And he did this thing, he calls it a hamburger drill. And I heard one of your recent podcasts where a guy was kind of talking about this. I was in the middle and they put a circle around me and he'd yell a number and that person would come out and spar me. So I spar that person, then he'd yell another number. And then the way it worked is that person usually was behind you and they'd crack you in the back of the head with just a little back fist. And then you turn around and fight that person. So I had to do that for, I don't know how long. Wow. Then I had to fight 1-on-1, then 2-on-1, then 3-on-1, then another hamburger drill.
Wow.
And I was dying. And I also knew that whenever you made a mistake, you had to do either 25 push-ups or 25 sit-ups. So I was doing push-ups and sit-ups for like 1.5 years, getting ready for this.
Wow.
So I could crank them out. But unfortunately, he knew that. So every mistake I made, I had to do 25 duck walks. And my legs were just dying.
Yeah.
And then I had to do all the forms separately, put an X on the floor, and you had to land on the spot. And every foot you were off, I had to do 25 duck walks.
Wow.
And then I had to do all the lower ranked forms right in a row. So I go, right after I finished the form, I had to go right into the ready stance and go right into the next form. If I hesitated, that was a mistake, and mistakes I made just brutally tried to break me physically. Wow. To try and get me to mess up on the forms and stuff. And then we did all kinds of other stuff. I had to do choreo. I had to do choreo blindfolded. Okay. Multiple times, and you land on the spot. And for those listening, choreo is the black belt form. Yep. We had to do 1-step sparring, 2-step sparring, 3-step sparring. And we were also a Hapkido school. So he blended some of the techniques of Hapkido as part of the ranking. So every belt rank, you had to learn like 3 or 4 different self-defense techniques. You had to do all those. So yeah, it was absolutely brutal. Wow. Back then we didn't have really cameras and stuff, and I wasn't seeing anybody at the time, and my family didn't know anything about martial arts, and no one came. So one of the students' mom took a picture of me. I have a picture of me. I just looked like I was ready to just pass out. Man. Yeah. I wish I still had the VHS of my original black belt test in 1996, because the person who, not to tell the whole story, but basically the person who took the videotape, who tested with me at the same time, there was 2 of us testing together, she pretty much went away from martial arts and shut off that whole part of her life. So I haven't spoken to her in 20-some years. Never got a copy of that video, unfortunately. Yeah, that would have been awesome. I know. Yeah, that would have been awesome. Yeah. And then for our breaks, so what we had to do for our breaks for black belt was we had to break 8 individual boards. Okay. With 4 different hand techniques and 4 different foot techniques. Okay. So the trick to it was do your hand techniques first, because you can hit those fast. Yeah. And then you had to break 8 boards in 12 seconds. Oh, wow. Yeah. Every second you were off, more duck walks. Wow. So I lined everybody up, had boards set up, for the type of break I was doing. My 4 hand techniques, I walked through my 4 kick techniques, and my instructor goes, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "Okay, I'm changing it." He goes, "I want a punch and a kick, a punch and a kick, a punch and a kick, and a punch and a kick." And I look at him, I go, "What?" He goes, "Go." So my 12 seconds started. So, I had to remember how I had the board aligned to make sure that I didn't do a break that was going to go against the grain. Yeah. So, yeah. So I forget. I think I did it in like 15 seconds. And I think probably because 3 seconds of it was me stunned. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what, if someone asked me, would you want it to be that hard if you had to do it again? I would have said it for my first degree. I said, absolutely. Because I really felt that was the initiation into the black belt world.
Yeah. To me, it's just crazy how different everyone's black belt tests are. Like within, I mean, you've heard me say that. I think I had my first time in 96, I think it was 12 different board breaks, but it was 12 different breaks, not 12 boards. So like some of the breaks had 2 boards, some had 3 boards, some had 1 board. And we don't know with our testing, at least back then, we didn't know, we only knew one of the breaks that we had to do before the test. So like the only one I knew I had to do before the test was a head break, 1 brick. Everything else, all the other brick breaks, the other board breaks, he makes up kind of like you. And he said he focused on your weaknesses and stuff. That's what he did. Like if he saw you doing, both ways, like if he saw me doing a bad turning side kick, he's like, all right, turning side kick, 3 boards.
Right.
Or
exactly.
If he saw me do an amazing turning side kick, all right, turning side kick, 3 boards. You know, it's like, so mine, I didn't know anything about it going in other than I had to break a brick with my head. That was the one that terrified me the most. So I love hearing those stories because it's so different. I mean, you hear these people doing like a 3-day test, a 4-day test, have people doing only a 2.5, you know, like my first one, I think was 2.5 to 3 hours, you know, and then everything in between that. It's like, wow. Now was yours one where you found out that day you passed, or did you have to wait?
No, we found out that day. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's another thing that's weird. Some of these people who don't find out for 2 months, 3 months, that would suck.
Right.
That'd be horrible.
Right. And I'd seen him not pass people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. With ours, usually like with most things, like if you miss something, you make a mistake or whatever, you get 2 more tries. And if you don't get it in the 3 tries, you don't pass. Now, if it gets to the end of the test and you only missed 1 thing, sometimes he'll be like, all right, if you get this break on your first try, I'll give you 1 more chance on that technique that you made a mistake on. Yeah. One, a lot of people will get it that way, but some won't. And then they'll have to wait 30 days and retest. So
yeah, you know, and most schools are like this, that they know you're ready. Yeah, they don't, right?
Or
so
you
they
won't
know
be
you're
testing.
ready for it, right? Yeah, you wouldn't be testing. But what happens sometimes is, and it's what I saw, you know, some people freeze and they get nervous and they freeze and, you know, then they struggle through the test. So you had to retest them because of the nervousness and not being able to get through some of the stuff.
Well, I know when I switched to my current instructor after having the bad instructor for one of my first tests coming up with him, would have been blue belt or purple belt. I don't remember. But I specifically asked him, I said, sir, do I have to test during class? I'd really rather test with no one watching. And he sat down and talked. He's like, all right. He said, we'll do it, but you're going to work your way into it. So he said, at some point, you're going to have to test in class. But he let me do it with just me and him after class. And I did so much better on that test. And I think he did me 1 more that way. Then he's like, all right, we're going to have just the black belts stay and watch you test this time. And then it was finally, by the time I hit my red belt, I did it in front of the whole class and it was no problem. And so just another example of a good instructor knowing what needs to be done and knowing you're ready. So it's good. So you mentioned, obviously in the intro, I mentioned teaching and stuff, and you mentioned that, about now teaching. So what drew you to the teaching side? What made you want to teach martial arts, and kind of what belt did that start at?
So as part of our training and testing for your black belt, you have to teach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think it started around like 3rd cup.
Okay.
So that was our red with a black stripe. And then we had a brown and then a brown with a black stripe. Okay. And then black. So you usually started like in your last part of your red, and you had to teach some classes. You didn't have to teach all the time.
Okay.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. It just came natural to me. And even when I was a red and a brown belt, I asked to teach more if I could.
Nice.
And then after I got my black belt and kept advancing, I was always leading the classes. And even with some of the higher ranked black belts, some of them didn't like to teach. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I would ask if they wanted me to teach. Most of the time they would just say, hey, Jim, teach.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. Because I couldn't just do it because they were higher ranks.
Right.
And I had to make sure that, they were okay with it. And so it just came natural to me. And, based on what I've heard from the students and everything, they really liked the way that I taught.
Okay.
Yeah. I was very patient. So
nice. That helps.
Yeah. And I was able, I used a lot of analogies and stuff to try and help them learn the techniques and stuff.
Because of that, because of your love of teaching, was there ever a time in your life, some part of you that considered opening your own school?
Yeah. My instructor wanted me to too. Mm-hmm. But because of my job, I really couldn't. I worked in IT, worked a lot, long hours, traveled a lot. I worked for for a global specialty chemicals company. So we had presence all over the world. So I used to travel all over the world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So one of the cool things was a week after I got my black belt, I went to Japan for 3 weeks. And then after that, a week in Sydney, Australia.
Wow.
So being there for 3 weekends, they would take me on little trips around, visit the different temples and different sites and stuff. And they knew I got my black belt. And so the one time the guy says, hey, there's a lady in our Tokyo office does Shotokan, and they're having a big tournament in Tokyo. Would you be interested to go see it? And I'm like, hell yes.
That's cool.
I would love to see that. So on our way there, we parked the car and we were walking to the gymnasium there. They're having it at. I heard this cracking noise. And I'm like, what's that noise? And they say, oh, there's a kendo school over there. I go, really? And they're like, yeah. I go, can I go see it? And they're like, oh, I don't know. Let's go see. So we go into their school and they're talking Japanese. And the guy's like, yeah, come on in. Yeah. So we sat there for about half an hour watching the kendo class, which was really cool. Okay. Yeah. And he was even asking me, he's like, hey, you want to try it? And I'm like, no. They were really good.
Nice. So I was just going to, you kind of answered it, but you mentioned traveling a lot for work. So any other experiences where you got to just go and even just watch another martial arts school in your travels?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Well, I did see a little. I always wanted to, right? But a lot of times it's mostly there for the work, and you don't get much time. But I did in Rio de Janeiro. I did stop by when we were walking by and saw a little bit of a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu class. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was neat. Yeah.
Very cool. Think back to that time then you said you were a red belt, you started helping with class to get ready for your black belt test. To now you're still, down in Florida, you're still teaching weekly. What has changed about your teaching style over all those years? Oh,
I think I'm more patient.
Okay.
And I think one of the things too is everybody wants to advance quickly, and I would help them. But, now I try, for those that are picking up really quickly, I'll work with them and to try and get them to advance faster. But others, I'll try and get them to slow down.
Okay.
Right. You have to have so many classes before you can test anyways. But, so some are ready when they have the number of classes. Some aren't. Yeah. And I try and make sure that, hey, if they're not ready, we really shouldn't look to test.
Yeah. I like that. That's cool. And so now you as being, mostly an assistant and never like the head instructor, have you ever personally brought someone from white all the way to black?
Yeah. Up north I did. Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of the kids. And I'm still in contact with a number of them too.
Nice.
And definitely a lot here.
Okay.
Yeah. When
did the decision come to move to Florida, and how long did it take you to find a martial arts school down there?
Yeah, so the reason we moved is my wife was done with the Cleveland Winners.
Nice.
And
smart choice.
Yeah, and we had bought a place down near the St. Petersburg area.
Okay.
We'd go down there like 6 times a year on vacations. And my wife was just really, really done. And so I told her, I said, hey, why don't you just move down there? I travel all the time with work. I've worked with consultants all my life. I know the consulting lifestyle. Mm-hmm. I'll talk with my boss to see if he'll allow me to fly back and forth and give me some flexibility there with that. And she didn't want to. So after a couple months, I told her, I said, hey, just go down there. Our place was fully furnished down there and everything. Mm-hmm. I said, just go down there for a month. And if you don't like it and you don't think it'll work, come back. But I'll fly down on the weekends. Yeah, so after a month, she says, yeah, I'm staying. And so my boss did give me the flexibility. He says, hey, we won't pay for it. So you have to make all your own arrangements. You have to pay for your flights and your lodging and everything. And we downsized to a condo in the Cleveland area.
Okay.
Then we sold that. And then I was just doing apartments. And I just got like a little efficiency apartment. It was like 450 square foot place. It was really tiny, but I was never there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we made that work. So because of that, I was still training up north. And then my parents lived in the villages here, my dad and my stepmom.
Okay.
And they passed away within a week of each other in November of 2020. Wow. Yeah, non-COVID related.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she had a really bad dementia. She was in a home and, she didn't remember anything. And then they told my dad she had 1 to 2 days to live. So he came home. Yeah, he had a bad heart anyways. But, we think it's just, didn't want to live without her.
Yeah.
So we came up here to get the place ready to sell and everything. And then, as we learned more about what this place has, it's like 70 golf courses, 110 swimming pools, 3,500 plus clubs. They say if you have a hobby, there's probably a club here. If not, start one. So my wife talked about moving here, and I was shocked because I didn't think she'd want to, but I kind of joked with her and I said, I'll only move here if they have a Taekwondo club here, because I thought there's no way there's going to be 50, 60, 70, 80-year-olds doing jump spin kicks and breaking boards. And she says, I already looked it up. There is one.
Nice.
So a couple weeks later, they actually had a tournament here they were hosting.
Wow.
I went and watched it, and I'm like, wow, they run the tournaments just like we do up north. The only difference that they did was when they did the forms, you actually did it like you're sparring. You would be in a ring with another person, and you would both do a form, whichever form you want, but it had to be within your rank. And then they would pick the winner, and then you advance.
Wow.
And it was a double elimination. So it was so up north, when we do a form, we do it once and they grade you.
Yeah.
Down here, sometimes you have to do your form like 6 times.
Wow.
The more you won. But I was like, wow, this is really cool. So, and they had a lot of young kids there and teenagers. I'm like, wow, what's going on? So I found out that they're affiliated with a gentleman in Tampa, Grandmaster is Kwon, Gerhard Brunner. It's a ninth dan. He's got, 15, 20 schools.
Oh, okay.
He's got a bunch in Germany. He's a German. So he's interesting when he talks in Korean. He's got the German Korean accent. It's hard to understand him, but
nice.
Guy's phenomenal. And so we're affiliated with him. So we do tournaments and stuff with them. We do our black belt tests. We do half of our black belt test in our school, and then we do another one in front of all the other schools.
Okay.
And so, I went to go check out the class and talked to the instructor, and I told him I did WT, and he said, well, we're ITF. It's a traditional ITF. Mm-hmm. So they don't do the sine wave. It's just a, regular, you do the perform regular. And I like the traditional better. I don't like the sine wave. Mm-hmm. So he said, you want to take the class? I said, no, I just want to watch. So I watched, and they ran it just like our classes were run up north. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is perfect. So I told him I would sign up, and he asked if I would start. I was advanced black belt. He asked if I would start as a white belt because I don't know their forms. And he said if I would, he'd advance me as quickly as I learned the forms. And I said, yeah, I wouldn't want to wear a black belt because I don't know your forms. People ask me a question and I look bad. And then your school looks bad. So, and he did. He fast-tracked me. The guy's going to be 88 in March.
Wow.
And he runs the class. And so 4 years ago, he was 84 years old. There was 5 of us testing for our first degree black belt. So he said, in honor of your 5 of you doing your black belt, I'm going to break 5 bricks. So there were cement blocks, right? So they were probably like, 1.5 inches thick?
Yep.
Probably about 14 inches long. He went through them like butter. 84 years old.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that's how I kind of fell into it and got lucky here.
Okay.
So I still train up north with the WT, and then I train 3 days a week here.
Okay. Yeah, just gonna ask, how many days a week?
So I do get the forms mixed up.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah. And for the people that don't know the villages down in Florida, I only know this because my aunt and uncle had moved there a few years ago, and my uncle still lives there. But it's essentially it's a city, but it's essentially like a retirement village, a retirement community. Only people over a certain age, pretty much, right?
Yeah, it's 55 and older.
Okay.
But there's people that are younger than that because at least 80% of the community has to be 55 or older.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's people here in their 40s and 50s, early 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's over 50 people in our Taekwondo class.
Wow.
And
is there other martial arts clubs there too? I'm just curious.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an Hapkido. It's a karate. I think it's a blend of like Shotokan and Ishinryu.
Okay.
They really didn't say what their style was. And then there's a new one that just started. It was like Goju-ryu. Just
very
started.
Cool.
Yeah.
Probably like some type of jiu-jitsu school there too, I would imagine.
No, there's no jiu-jitsu.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, lots of Tai Chi.
Okay.
Yeah. The age of the folks. I think they said the average age of our school is like 72.
Nice.
So there's people who've never trained ever in their life. There's folks who trained and got their black belts 30 years ago and then stopped because of life. And then there's folks like myself who've trained forever. Yeah. And so we have a nice blend of people.
That's what I love. I love that, at those ages, you're getting people who have never done it before. And that's why you've heard it. I always talk about that. It's never too old to try it.
No.
I love that. That is so cool. And do you guys do demonstrations at all to get people to come find it? Pretty much just word of mouth.
We do. They have some parades.
Okay.
And so we've done a number of the parades where the different clubs, they walk all the different clubs through. There's like a St. Patrick's parade, and there's another one in the fall. Yeah. So what we would do is we would be in our dough box, and we'd walk around, and we have boards with us, and we'd stop, and then someone would do a board break.
Nice.
Walk, and then what we would do is a lot of times the people's there, or their grandkids are there, and we give the broken boards to the grandkids, and they'd be going crazy, you know.
That's cool.
And then we'd stop and do a quick form. They always gave us a hard time because they want to keep the parade moving.
Yeah.
So they always put us towards the back because we never listened to them. We kept doing the forms and stuff.
That is awesome. I love that you're doing this. Seriously, that is so impressive, and I definitely hopefully they get down and visit. So we will see. I'd be love to meet everyone and see what you guys have going down there. Come and take a class with us. Definitely, that'd be good. That'd be good. Yeah. So over your martial arts career, over the 35 plus years, one philosophy that stands out for you.
Oh, one philosophy. There's an old movie. I always like Be Like Water.
Nice.
That one always resonated with me. But there was an old movie called The Gladiator. Who's the guy? James Marshall, Brian Dennehy.
The boxing movie.
One.
I love that movie.
Yeah. So what I liked in that one was anger is the enemy.
Oh, yeah.
So that resonates with me because of the self-control is one of our tenets in Taekwondo.
Yeah. Ozzy. I can't remember the guy's last name, but the actor, his coach. Anyone, people have heard me talk about it. Please, if you haven't seen Gladiator, go find it somewhere and watch it. Yeah. It's so good.
Make them think you're weak when you're strong.
Yep. I always love top of the head, hardest part of the body.
Right. Yeah.
I actually used that in class one time.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Great movie.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, Cuba Gooding Jr. was in that one. It's one of his early movies.
Yeah, that was one of his first starring roles, I think. So,
yeah.
All right, how about a worst martial arts related injury?
I've had the number of broken toes, which is nothing. Just tape it to the other one.
Yep.
But I broke my heel.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. We were practicing. There's a buddy of mine and his son. The three of us did a ton of competition. We used to do like 15, 20 competitions a year.
Wow.
And so we were practicing our stuff. It was the day after Thanksgiving, Friday, and we were in the dojang, and I'm working on my form. I did a creative form, created a creative form, so it had a bunch of jump spin kicks in it and stuff. And I do a crescent kick, outside crescent kick, and when I land, I jump up and do a spin hook kick. Foot landed awkward on the crescent kick. So when I went to jump up, just sounded like a stick snapped, right? And I'm like, whoa, boy, I've never heard that sound before. And the other guy looks at me, and he was a coach for gymnastics for one of the top schools in Ohio. So he knew the sound. And so what he told me was it really didn't get inflamed or anything. And he's like, well, he goes, it sounded like you broke it, but, maybe it was your ligament or tendon. But he says if it gets really black and blue, you broke it. So I go home, I ice it, and go to bed. I wake up at like 3 a.m. to have to go to the bathroom. So I hobbled into the bathroom, and I looked down, and my foot's black.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, I broke that. So I went back to bed, called my girlfriend at the time. She's my wife now, but I called her and said, hey, I need you to take me to the hospital because it was my right foot, so I couldn't drive. She said, what'd you do now? So the doctor told me it's the second hardest bone in your body next to your head.
Wow.
And then the other one was I broke a rib in a tournament.
Ouch.
It was our national tournament, and I was in the semifinals, and there was no weight class. So the guy I was fighting was like 6'6" and huge, and I was having a hard time getting in. So I threw a ridge hand and hit him in the head. But at the same time, he came underneath with a reverse punch and hit me once. I went down, and I knew something was wrong. And then he's winning. They gave him the point, so I was down 1-0. I knew time was running out, so I tried the same move again. He hit me right in the same spot.
Dang.
They opened up my dobok, and we were in this big arena. I had friends that were way up in the bleachers of the arena. And when they opened it up, they said they could see the black and blue mark.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the funny thing was going to the hospital, and they took x-rays, and they lost my x-rays. And I said, well, I'm fine. I'm just going to go. And the doctor was like, no. We had to make sure you didn't rupture an organ or puncture your lung. And I said, puncture my lung? And they said, yeah, if they puncture your lung, we have to put a tube in you to reinflate it. I look at my girlfriend, my girlfriend at the time, and I go, I just went to play a game of tag, Now they're going to stick a tube down my throat? And she goes, oh, it doesn't go in your throat. they stick it right into your side. I'm like, what?
Wow.
So luckily they found the x-rays and there was nothing wrong. So, but I'll tell you what, that was the most painful thing I ever went through. I mean,
wow.
You don't realize how much you use your core.
Yeah.
And the first time I laid down on the bed, I couldn't get up.
Jeez.
And then like you cough, you sneeze, and the hiccups were the worst because you knew those weren't going to go away for a while. It was like you get stabbed in the side every time.
Dang.
Yeah. So those were my two big ones.
Okay. Not fun. Wow.
No.
Okay. And how about your thoughts on MMA? Are you a fan of the UFC? Do you watch MMA?
I used to be a huge fan.
Okay.
The original ones were kind of cool, with the different styles and different weight classes. But I thought it was crazy having to fight like 4 times in a day. But, after that first Ultimate Fighter with, what are those two guys' names? Shoot, that was Franklin? No.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, Bonner's was Stephen Bonner and somebody else. When they just slugged it out, and he gave them both. The one guy won it, and then he gave them both the contract.
Yep.
Yeah, so I was hooked on that. So I watched it all the time. But now there's so many events I can't keep up with them. There's so many weight classes I can't keep up with them.
Yeah.
If it's on, I'll watch it. If they take them down to the ground and they roll around on the mat, I get bored.
Okay.
I want to see him fighting. I don't like the WWE, side of it. They've lost the Bushido side of stuff, but I get why they do it. They're hyping up their fights.
Yeah.
But I heard Joe Corley might be starting the PKA again, kickboxing.
Man, I hope so. He talked about that when I interviewed him a couple of years ago, and I haven't heard it. I should I'll have to reach out to him for an update.
Yeah, because I keep seeing little hints in his social media. So
yeah. That would be cool. I'd love to see. Yeah. I'd love to see kickboxing make a major comeback. I mean, yeah, sure, MMA can stay successful too, but I'd love to see kickboxing make a comeback. And my fear would be it would start making a comeback, and then UFC would buy it and probably ruin it. So,
it might, yeah.
I hope not, but we'll see. I'm hoping. I know more states are starting to sanction kickboxing now and hold events, so fingers crossed that it grows because that is fun to watch. All right, well, it's time now for the fun questions. We got to go through these, and I know it's coming, but what would your MMA walk-up music be if you were walking into that octagon? Yeah, so that was a hard one. Because every time you would ask that, I always think to myself. And so I kind of had 3 I probably would rotate. Okay.
So the first one is Hero by Foo Fighters.
Okay.
From that Varsity Blues movie. I just love that scene. I was always a fan of Iggy Pop's Wild One.
Oh, nice. I love that song, yeah.
Yeah. And then the other one it's a song, it's called Let It Rock by, what's that guy's name? Lil Wayne's in it.
Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking about.
Kevin Rudolph, I think his name is.
Okay.
Yeah, because I did bodybuilding for a while, and I used to do a routine to that song.
Okay. Yeah. Kevin Rudolph featuring Lil Wayne. Let's look it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great song.
I think that's 3 that no one's ever picked before, so I like it. All right. How about your martial arts Mount Rushmore? Who's going to be up there?
Yeah, that's always a tough one. And I know everybody really struggles with it because to me, I want to pick folks that did cool things in cinema that we never saw. Mm-hmm. Like Speakman with Perfect Weapon. When I saw that movie, I was just like, wow.
Yeah. That
was so awesome. But then it's like, do I look at founders of systems? But when I really sat down and thought about it, I really thought that my Mount Rushmore would be who had the most influence on me. And like I said, I mentioned my parents got divorced when I was 6, so I really didn't have a father figure in the house for a long time, many years. My dad was still in my life, but back then it was you got to see us every 2 weeks, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So not a lot of father figure type thing. So TV was my thing. So to me, Kung Fu, Kwai Chang Caine.
Nice.
I just love, the philosophical side of the stories and everything, and his demeanor and stuff. It just really had a big impact on me. Bruce Lee's would be another one, and it was because of his philosophical side. Mm-hmm. The other one was Andy Griffith, but he's not a martial artist. But
nice.
He always had a good moral to their stories.
Yeah.
But as I got older, it's funny. They're TV characters or movie characters. But Mr. Miyagi,
he's on mine too.
His patience, demeanor, and philosophies just resonated with me. And my wife always jokes with everybody and says that when Pat Morita passed away, that Jim cried.
I did. I admit it.
Yeah, it was a sad day for me.
I heard that and I cried. That was a hard one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then Chuck Norris,
nice.
Just, with his movies and his, he always played the good guy, except for his first couple of movies. But, but he always had a good story. Walker, Texas Ranger, always had, philosophical sides to his story. So those kept me grounded. And then the other one would be my grandmaster, Rick McLean.
Nice.
That I've been training with for 35 years.
Okay.
If I never stepped in his dojang, I don't know where my martial arts career would be today, because of him.
Or if you'd have one, who knows?
Right. Yeah. I might have, quit because I didn't like the schools and had that bad taste in my mouth again and stuff. So, but yeah, he's a great martial artist and he's been a great friend all this time. So yeah, those would be mine.
Okay. Nice. All right. How about your favorite martial arts book?
Book is Zen in the Martial Arts.
Joe Hyams. Nice.
Yeah. The other one, which is interesting, I just read it recently. I don't read books. I don't like to read. I listen to them.
Okay. That's okay.
But you had some folks talking about this, the killing art.
Ah, yes. Love that. Yeah. Alex Gillis. Yep.
That answered a lot of questions for me about Taekwondo. And when everybody talked about the politics and stuff about it, it really was like, wow, okay, now I get a lot of things that I didn't understand before.
I'm trying to get him on my show. I've been trying for 5 years to get him on my show.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
Every time I ask him, he's like, I only do a certain number of interviews a year. And anytime I reach him, he's like, I'm not doing any more interviews this year. So I'm really, really hoping one of these times.
Well, that's great. Yes.
Yeah. He'd be fun to chat with, I think.
Yeah.
All right. How about the favorite martial arts video game? Is that one you have an answer for or no?
Oh, yeah. I was a video game freak.
Okay.
Yeah, there was the old good ones, like Double Dragon, Mortal Kombat.
Yep.
What was that other one?
Tekken. That was a good one.
Tekken, yeah.
Street Fighter.
Yeah. But the one that I always loved, and I don't know why, because it's kind of corny and goofy, but on Bloodsport, that Karate Champ, I think it was called.
Yes. Yep.
I love that one. I don't know why, because it's so basic.
It's a fun game. It still is.
Yeah.
And I just told one of my other guests recently, he said, I'm pretty sure, at least last time I checked, there's a place on a website you can play that online.
Yeah.
It's cool. Okay. Yeah. All right. How about a favorite martial arts TV show?
All of them. I've seen them all.
Nice.
I actually found Sidekicks on YouTube.
Yes. Crappy quality, but it's still fun to watch.
Yeah, well, my wife was even watching them. She was like, "Who's that kid? He looks familiar." And so she kind of likes the storylines and stuff. So she kind of got into that. But Kung Fu was the one that really resonated with me.
Okay.
But to throw one out there that no one's said is, I always liked Renegade.
I love Lorenzo Lamas. Yes.
Yeah.
I have the first season on DVD actually. He's another one I've been trying to get on my show. So
yeah, it's funny. He on Saturday nights, like 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, they run 2 shows every weekend, and my wife and I will watch them. We were actually watching it last night, nice. And we were laughing because they're on the last season, and that's when he cut his hair.
Yeah,
and he had the wig on.
Yep.
And my wife always laughs at him and goes, "Look at that wig, that's so bad."
Yeah, he definitely looked better with the natural long
with
hair.
With his flowing natural mane, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. No, that's another one. Same thing. If I see it on, I'll watch it. I still enjoy that show. So, all right. How about a favorite martial arts movie?
Again, all of them. But the one I really liked, and I really thought this was his breakout movie, was Brandon Lee's Rapid Fire.
I love that. Yeah. Yep.
The fight scenes in that were just crazy good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, this guy is really going to be a star.
Yeah.
Now everybody said The Crow was the one that was going to be the one that sent him over until his death. But that Rapid Fire was just so good.
Yeah. That's another one too. That's in my list that I watch all the time. I just watched that about 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fun one. To back up a little, you said you've watched all the martial arts TV shows. Got to get your thought on Warrior.
Love it.
Okay.
Love it.
Good.
Even my wife. So my wife will watch the martial arts movies and stuff. But yeah, okay. I just love the character. Assam, I thought his character was great.
Yeah.
And then the other guy, his buddy with the knives, I forgot what his name was.
Yeah.
He was the comic.
Yeah, he's funny.
Side of it.
He's super talented, but man, he's a funny comedic actor. So
I see him in other movies and stuff too. So
yeah. All right. The final question. Any favorite movie fight scene?
So I have a couple.
Okay.
So Perfect Weapon for me.
Yes.
All the fight scenes.
Yeah.
I love them. That one where they, when he killed Mako, and he's chasing down the alley and he runs into those 4 guys and he just takes them out. It was like, wow, that was crazy fast.
Yeah.
I love the Taekwondo fight scene, although I didn't like that he beat 3 Taekwondo guys.
Yeah.
Accident Man with Scott Adkins and Michael Jai White.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
There was him, Michael J. White, and this other guy he was crazy good martial artist too, and he was a big, thick guy. But to me, Scott Atkins and Michael J. White have like the best technique out there.
Yeah.
And that fight scene was crazy good.
Two other guys I'm trying to get on the show.
Yeah. Rapid fire. There's one fight scene in there that really stood out to me, and that was at the end when Al Leong was walking down the stairs after, Brandon Lee's like dead tired.
Yep.
And it was just a practical fight scene to me because Al Leong's like beating him up, and then he sticks his hand out to try and get his timing down, and then takes him out, which I don't know why that thing just resonated with me.
Nice. Al Leong is another one I would have loved to have interviewed at some
point.
But
yeah, keep working them.
I try. Like I said, I reach out.
And then lastly is The Gladiator. That fight scene with James Marshall and Brian Denny is so good. So it's a classic.
Yeah, agreed. That is so awesome. So before I let you go, anything that we did not mention, we forgot to talk about, you want to get out there, now's the time.
No, I think this was awesome. I'm so glad I got the opportunity. I never thought that you would reach out to me. I was, like I said, I was trying to get some other folks out there, and I still have a bunch of names for you if you're looking for more.
Always looking for more. I know I've reached out to a few on your list, and so far, I don't think I've gotten responses, but I will keep trying. I'll check the list again. But yeah, like I said, I get 90% of my guests now for referrals. So that helps keep the show going. As long as people keep sending me guest suggestions, they keep saying yes, I will keep doing the show. I promise.
All right.
So we'll see. Just had a listener, and I got to throw out a hello to Herschel. He sent me an email. He actually started because of my show. He started martial arts at later in life. I think he said he was 42 or 44. I don't have the email right in front of me, but he started martial arts because of listening to my show and hearing all the stories. And I told him, I said, if my show's still going when you get your black belt, I want to interview you on the show. So
nice.
So yeah, I'm hoping his goal is to get his black belt before he turns 52. So shout out to Herschel and his son too, and hopefully have you on the show in like 5 years. We'll see.
Yeah, he's young.
I know. He's like, by 52, I'm like, I literally turned 52 in like 3 weeks. So
nice. Yeah.
So yeah, cool. But seriously, this has been so much fun. I really, you do have a cool story. I'm glad we did this, and seriously, hopefully gonna meet in person someday.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right.
Wrap up today's episode by taking your own training to the next level with Martial Theory by Steve Perlman, the book that's redefining martial arts thinking. Find Martial Theory on Amazon today. Join the worldwide movement at martialtheoryu.com, where you'll find Q&A sessions, live events, and direct guidance from Steve himself. Use code EverydayMA for 20% off for life. That's martialtheoryu.com, code EverydayMA. Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.